So let's talk about why thousands of foreigners are leaving Vietnam right now. So at the moment there have been nearly 5,000 cases in the current wave of cases that have been happening in Vietnam since the 27th of April. So this has been the biggest wave in Vietnam yet and has brought the country to about 10,000 cases, a little under 10,000 cases total in Vietnam since the pandemic started, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of cases, but right now this is a big wave, so there's a lot happening to do with that. I made a video a couple of weeks ago about the crackdown that's happening on visas, and since then things have become a little bit clearer about what exactly is happening. So I'm going to talk about who this has been affecting, exactly how it is affecting people, and basically the whole situation, give you a rundown of that. So I just want to take a step back and mention how for a very long time now Vietnam has been a country that has welcomed foreigners and made it relatively easy and cheap to stay long-term in the country. Hey dog. And this has been apparent by how easy it's been to renew visas, get new visas. There's been a lot of solutions for staying long-term in Vietnam, even without having a work permit. And of course, that's something that we always have recommended. You know, we've helped hundreds of people move to Vietnam to become English teachers, and I've always helped them get the correct documents to get legal work permits. But there have been people that have lived for many years in Vietnam through different visa solutions. So overall, it's been a country that has been known to be a place where you can actually stay long term, and Vietnam welcomes people bringing in their money, spending their dollars here. So basically that has now changed. So there was an article published on the Ministry of Labor's website on the 17th of May, so a couple of weeks ago, with the title stating illegal foreign migrant workers to be deported. So basically here's what the Minister of Labor said. Consider deporting foreign workers without work permits or those failing to comply with the entry and exit rules applicable to foreigners in Vietnam. Now there are definitely entry and exit rules, it's just that they haven't really been enforced. Now obviously that applies to people working here without work permits, but also the part about not using and following the rules correctly on entering and exiting, that now applies to a lot of people. Now the article refers to the current COVID situation, so it's clearly linking these two things together in one way or another. And I think the big drive to make this happen was all the foreign experts that were coming under fake sponsorships and arriving in Vietnam during this period and have potentially been bringing the virus into the country. So essentially people arriving since the pandemic started. And I mentioned in my last video that a lot of people have been arrested for getting people in on these fake expert visas that aren't actually working for these companies. So that has been a problem for sure. And perhaps this is the government's reaction or solution to deal with this particular problem. However, there are different groups of people. There are those that are arriving illegally into Vietnam, but there are also these people that, as I mentioned, seem to have been welcome in Vietnam for the longest time. And then there are also the people who are attempting to or have been working legally in Vietnam for quite some time. And it seems like right now the big net that Vietnam is casting is affecting all of these groups in one way or another. And that seems to be forcing a lot of people to leave the country, and that's why thousands of foreigners are leaving right now. And unfortunately, some people that have even been trying to do things by the book in Vietnam are also being affected and having to leave. So let's talk about the different groups and which ones have been affected in what ways. So there are the people on tourist visas, the people on business visas, those trying to get into Vietnam on expert visas, and then those who are working in Vietnam currently on work permits. So the group that's been least affected are those that are on tourist visas that arrived in Vietnam after the 1st of March 2020. So this group of people were allowed to stay in Vietnam because of the pandemic, extending visas every month. So you could actually get an automatic extension for a further month at the end of every month. And it was announced towards the end of the month or the beginning of the next month if those automatic renewals would continue for the following month. There has been quite a lot of panic whether these would get renewed or extended or not, but they did just announce that they will be continuing the automatic extensions until the end of June. And as far as I know, not as many of these have been denied, but there are some people that have still been denied. So basically it's at the discretion of the government whether they will extend it or not, even though they are saying they're doing these extensions. It seems like most of them for this group, they are extending, but a lot of visa agents have said you should start making plans because it's been over a year now that they've been doing these automatic extensions. So that's kind of given people the chance to leave. I think that's the logic behind it anyway. So it may be the case that these automatic extensions are going to stop happening. So far, not yet, but that could be the case soon. But it seems like even within this group, there are some people that are getting the XC on their passport when they get the renewal, which means that they have to leave at that point. So they did get the extension, but they will have to leave at the date that that visa expires. So that's what visa agents have been saying. If you get an XC, means you need to exit by then. Then the next kind of group is those that have arrived on tourist visas before the 1st of March 2020. Now, obviously these people have been here quite a long time, so it seems like a lot of people on tourist visas from before that date are getting their visas either denied completely, the extension's denied, or are getting those XC stamps where they did get the extension, but they got the little XC that they have to leave after that. And this seems to be a group that the Vietnam government is definitely cracking down on. A lot of people I've seen and heard of are not getting extensions at all, or they're getting 30 days where they have to leave by the end of that 30 days. So one of the stressful things is I've seen a few people where they've just had their visa extensions denied and then they're already overstayed on their visa. So they are supposed to be leaving the country and have left the country, and they're in a situation where they have to pay a fine because now they've overstayed, get a short extension, leave the country. And even those that just got the 30-day extension, it's not a lot of time to get out of the country right now because things are quite hectic in terms of getting around and getting out of the country. A few things have happened recently. Vietnam has limited the number of domestic flights to Ho Chi Minh City. It's quite difficult and expensive to get flights out of the country. And they've even stopped doing the PCR test, which is required to get onto a plane at Ho Chi Minh City Airport. You can still go to a hospital and get it done before, but all of these things are making it very difficult to actually leave the country right now. So people are getting these very short periods where they have to leave within that amount of time. So I see so many people stressing out right now, and it's not a fun situation to be in. And I understand that the government has every right to do this. However, it's just quite a short period where people have to make that decision. Should I risk it and stay a little bit longer? Because people don't want to leave right now. Vietnam's a really good situation to be in. So people are doing this month-to-month extension because it's available. But it's so stressful for people because they don't know until the last minute whether they'll get the extension or not. And now with all these crackdowns, people really don't know. It could go either way when they go in to get their visa extension. Just to contrast it with what the Thai government's doing right now, they have announced that you can stay until September. They've allowed foreigners to stay with that amount of time, which is a good amount of time so you can make your plans. You know you've got enough time to get things done. I think that's quite a nice thing to do because it is a very stressful situation to make plans to move abroad if you've been in the country for a certain amount of time. And some people, like retirees who've been here for 15 years, I saw a post from a guy who's been here 15 years, he has to leave. So that's the situation a lot of people are in with the tourist visas and the extensions with regards to that. Then the next group of people is those on a business visa that doesn't have a real sponsoring company. So a business visa is actually designed to sponsor someone to come into the country with the intention of them working for the company that is giving you that business visa. So this was the visa that you used while you start working for a company and you get a work permit, and then they can either get you another business visa or they can get you a temporary resident card. However, what visa agents have been doing for years now is offering these business visas, and then essentially what they do is sponsor you with a company that they own. So you're actually not going to work for that specific company. Now, this has actually been going on for years and years. I've been in Vietnam since 2015, and this was happening since then. You could just contact a visa agent or go onto their website and just order a business visa. Say, hey, this is my information. Can I get a business visa, please? They say yes, you get a business visa. These have been pretty easy to extend. And you didn't have to provide any information about a company you were working for because they were using their shell company to sponsor you to come into the country. And this was kind of just used a lot by a lot of people. And to be fair to the people that have used this type of solution, there's been very little indication that you shouldn't actually be doing that. It's very easy to get, it has been in the past, and people have been getting these visas on and off for years now, and some people have just stayed extending those visas through their agents, and the agents have just kept sponsoring them through the same shell company or multiple shell companies. Now, I'm not saying ignorance of the fact that you shouldn't really be doing this is an excuse, and like I mentioned, we always tell our teachers to bring the documents they need to get a work permit with a company. However, it's never really been enforced that this shouldn't be happening. People really haven't got in trouble for this that much over the years. But now, because they are cracking down on things, anyone that has been on one of these sponsored business visas that doesn't have a real sponsorship company may have ended up on the blacklist. So the blacklist is essentially, I don't know, a big list in the government's offices where people get put on if they've done something that isn't correct in terms of the immigration rules and laws. So what's happening now is anyone that has been or is on one of these business visas sponsored by an agent is essentially either on the blacklist, they might not be, they might have not landed on the blacklist, but you can't get an extension on the business visas, and there's a good chance you might have landed on the blacklist. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people are in this situation where they've been on one of these visas at some point, and it may have been as simple as they were working legitimately at a company and then they wanted to find a new job, so they just got one of these visas temporarily, got a new job, then got the correct work permit and a business visa from the company that they work for, and they still might have ended up on the blacklist, unfortunately. And again, yes, always go for a school that will get your work permit, but the sad truth of the matter is not every school in Vietnam has done that for their teachers. A lot of them have just said, oh, just get a business visa through an agent, you know, and then we'll pay you directly, we won't get you the work permit. It just has happened a lot in Vietnam, unfortunately, and the people that have done this at any point are now in a position where they might have to leave the country. Okay, so let's move on to the next group, which kind of overlaps a little bit with that one, but is anyone essentially that has been working legally or trying to work legally in Vietnam, trying to do everything by the book, and how they're getting affected right now. And even some of these people are potentially having to leave the country. And this stuff is really frustrating me at the moment because, like I mentioned, we help people move to Vietnam, and it's really sad to see that people that have been trying to do everything correctly are ending up in situations where it's quite stressful and they might even have to leave. And I think it's a combination of just the fact that we're going through this wave of COVID cases, and a lot of the government departments have closed down, which is making it harder to get all your documents you need for legitimate work permits, as well as the fact that now they're looking more closely at everyone that's working in Vietnam, and they're really enforcing each and every step of the process, which has always been quite complicated, and sometimes getting all the documents you need, getting it submitted in time, the process can be lengthy, and it's kind of created this perfect storm where it's just become very difficult to get work permits with companies. So let me go through a few of the things that are affecting this situation right now. So the first thing is that right now a few people are scrambling to get work permits, whether it's because they were slow to get it in the first place with their company or they're switching to a new employer. So a lot of people are going through the work permit process right now, but there are a lot of government offices that are closed because of this current wave of cases. For example, the US consulate has just closed in Ho Chi Minh City for 2 weeks. So that means you can't get maybe your TEFL certificates authenticated if it's a US-based certificate. You can't get your degree, diploma authenticated at the US consulate right now. So that's really bad for any US citizens. You know, that's 2 weeks if you're trying to quickly get a work permit because you can't get a further business visa extension. Also, the Department of Justice here in Vietnam seems to be not accepting people. Again, I've heard some reports of them turning people away in Ho Chi Minh City, as well as a few people are getting in, but You also have to submit an application, and I've heard that they've been delayed to over 4 weeks waiting for your background check. Now this would be okay pre-COVID because you could just leave the country and come back in on your new company's business visa and get a 3-month business visa. That would give you plenty of time to submit all your documents to get the work permit while you're starting to work for that company. But because you can't leave the country and come back in, which was the only way to really switch companies, they always made you do that. So there isn't an easy way to switch between companies right now, and you have to pay a fee to go from a business visa from one company to the other company. So if a contract's ending with one company, you actually have to pay this fee to get onto the business visa of another company. And to make matters worse, they're not really doing any 3-month business visas, they're just doing 1-month business visas. And I've even heard of cases where they're only giving 14 days. So somehow you're supposed to get a 14-day extension business visa with your new company and then get your work permit processed in time, which is just not possible. You can't. So if you're switching to a new company, you're supposed to get a 14-day business visa and then somehow process your work permit in that amount of time, which usually takes way longer, and you're looking at 4 weeks to get a police check, can't get your documents authenticated. Some nationalities like UK, South Africans have to have documents sent from their home country, authenticated in their home country to get to Vietnam. No way you can do it in that amount of time. And from what I've seen, that fee to switch from one sponsor to another without leaving the country is about 15 million dong. So that's what, $700, which is a lot of money when you're in Vietnam. Not to mention, if you've ever used one of those business visas in the past, you might be on the blacklist and have to pay a further 40 million dong to get off the blacklist. That's what I've seen people quoting. But never mind that, because we're focusing on people doing it 100% legitimately. So basically, the teachers that we're speaking to right now that are trying to switch jobs, their employers are basically saying, we don't know. We don't know if we can get this all done for you in time. We'll try get you a business visa extension and then process your work permit documents. But even the top schools in Vietnam are just so confused about all these laws that keep coming into play. There seems to be one happening each day. Some law comes into place where it's not allowing you to do something. And then there's also all the people in the tourist visa and the business visa categories that I mentioned before that want to actually get some legitimate work now, and they're in the same position, can't really get a sponsorship from a company. And the work permits, apparently some are getting denied right now. I've seen a few posts of people saying that they've done everything legitimately, they've been switching to a new company and they've been processing the work permit with the new company, and then they've just got a message from the government saying, we're not processing work permits for new companies right now. Like, you can get another work permit or renew your work permit for the company you're working for, but they're not processing work permits for new companies. So basically you can see why even those that are doing things 100% by the book are in a situation that could be pretty bad and might have to leave the country. And then of course the last category is the people that want to move to Vietnam right now to teach foreign experts, skilled workers. This option has been in place basically since the start of the outbreak. I made a video about how this process works. It's complicated and expensive. The quarantine is 21 days. You have to have a legit sponsor. And the problem is now with this, the biggest crackdown was mostly to stop these experts coming in illegally through these fake sponsorships. They also paused all international flights into Vietnam at Ho Chi Minh Airport and also at the Hanoi Airport for some time. And then just a couple of days ago, they overturned that and now flights are allowed in again. So technically you can get in through this process now, but it's going to be so much stricter and they're really going to be looking at everyone that comes in. So it's only going to be more difficult to come in right now in the current situation. I mean, if it's so difficult for people who are already here, it's going to be even more difficult to get in right now. So that's an overview of who has been affected in what way with these current changes that are happening right now. And I think a lot of it's just unfortunate timing. It's just implementation that hasn't really been done so well, or at least it is affecting people that shouldn't be the ones affected. And I know it's a difficult thing to coordinate, and the interests of the Vietnam people and the government here, they're just trying to do things that they think will improve the whole situation here, and I totally get that. But I'm just giving you an update of
what has happened and what is happening right now. Now, moving forward, what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think things are going to resolve themselves slowly but surely with the current visa situation. I think that things will stabilize a bit more. I think it'll become more clear what can and can't be done. I think there'll be changes that make it more easy for those that do have the correct requirements to get a work permit. I think they may stick to being more strict about the people that they're allowed to stay in Vietnam. And that's fair. If they want people with work permits to be in Vietnam working legally, then I totally get that. And that's always what we've recommended to our teachers anyway. I do think that over the next few months, hopefully things will stabilize with all the getting work permit stuff, getting new visas for those that are working here legally. It's just unfortunate that all this is happening right now, and those people that are trying to get work permits and trying to switch jobs are being affected. That really sucks for a lot of people. But as usual, Vietnam does really well with these waves of cases, and I think they're going to get that in check. As the country gets more vaccinated, there are plans to have the country vaccinated to 70% by the end of the year. And every day I see some news articles about Vietnam securing more doses of the vaccine coming in. They're in trials for the local vaccine, which they're producing here. So that's a little bit behind some of the other countries in terms of how far the vaccination process has gone. But as that starts to get better, then we'll see the restrictions start to lift. Every day also, almost every day, I see the Vietnam government or some department of the government suggesting reducing the quarantine period for experts coming into the country. There was one on the news, I think even today, that said they want to reduce it to 5 or 7 days from the 21 days. And as things start to get better, more people get vaccinated, then that's going to be the case. And you'll be able to get to Vietnam more cheaply and easily. And I think we're moving in that direction. We're getting to that point slowly but surely. Now, I also wanted to let you know where the people that I know in Vietnam are actually going right now. So I have quite a lot of friends leaving, for example, and they're going to different countries where the situation might be a little bit better for them right now. So if you're interested in hearing more about those options, we have an online TEFL course that is really a high quality course. So if you get TEFL certified through us, you can teach in any country where you're allowed to get to the country at that particular point in time. Or you can teach English online and live in a country that does welcome people with long-term visas. So if you're interested in hearing more about those countries, leave a comment below, let me know. Subscribe for more videos in the future. Okay, stay tuned for the next video. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful. So yeah, stay tuned for those videos and I will speak to you soon. Peace.